This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Trevor Long and Stephen Fennick. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden.
Thank you very much to NRMA Insurance, a help company helping Australians protect what matters for almost 100 years. NRMA Insurance is one of the largest insurers of electric vehicles in Australia, and that's not something to be shy about. And Uniden smart dash cams, if you've got a brand new car, electric or otherwise, hybrid, petrol, we don't care. Protect it and your own peace of mind with a dash cam, because that's going to give you the knowledge about exactly what happened, whether it's while it was parked or while you're on the road. So check out Uniden dash cams online now. Stephen, good day to you, mate.
G'day there, Trev. Now, we talk about EVs, of course, on this show.
Yeah, we do a little bit, yeah.
Big part of that is the charging and the battery.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what's the lowest you've gone? I think you have run out of power in a car, right? Early days. I think the lowest I've been in my car, I think I went down to 3% on my Tesla, and I was panicking
we did a range test many years ago, 2018, I think it was, in a Hyundai Ioniq. We went to Bathurst. The range should have got us there, but it was freezing cold, and it's obviously uphill, so you learn a lot. And that was very early days. We learned a lot that day, including what the phone number for the tow trucks are in Bathurst. Anyway, and so that was obviously extreme. But in day-to-day life, the lowest I've gone was also broadly for a test. When I got the Cupra, I wanted to know what it cost to charge at home. This is before I had solar. And so what I did was I drove pretty much all week, and then I kind of calculated I could get to Channel 9 and back and end very close to the bottom. I got to like 8%, and then I just drove around for a while, got it to 3%. And then I went home and went, that's enough. And I charged it to 100 so that I could do a calculation of exactly how many kilowatts and based on my bill, and I worked out it was like $23 or something to charge.
On my Mercedes, I got down below 10% once, and it actually said to me when I stopped the car, it said, recharge the car, because it warned me that the lower it gets, the longer it's going to take to charge. Because, I don't know if this is the same for all EVs, but there are some EVs that when you get right down to it, like get to 0 or 1%, it takes a long time to get back to 2 and 3 and to get up into the charge.
Because it's kind of got to reorganise
I remember there was one
electrons.
Case when I had my Tesla. This was years ago. I was driving. I think I was leaving here, and I was going to charge on the way home. And there was one Model X in the driveway, stuck in the driveway with a cable coming out of the car to a power point. Now, apparently that guy, how he knew who I was, I don't know. He actually contacted me through Facebook and said, apologies for blocking the driveway, but I ran out of power. And it took him, he reckons it took 3 hours to get from no power to 1% so we could drive the car to the supercharger.
You would be freaking out at that point. 3 hours. You'd be like, what is going on here?
You think something's
You'd
broken.
Be Googling the hell out of that.
So I don't know whether that's the same for all vehicles, though.
So look, that's not a challenge to you to get your car down low, because it's not a fun thing to do. It's fascinating, because like for us, when we were doing that drive, it was fascinating to see when the little turtle comes up on the screen and what happens. It just basically takes away a lot of the speed, all those different things. But in day-to-day life, and I find this fascinating, my wife will not freak out, but she will be like, when are we charging the car? At like 50%.
Really?
And I said to her one day, I said, listen, babe, you've got enough.
You can drive to Newcastle now.
You can go a long way. Like it's written there as well. It tells you how many kilometres you can go. And maybe, and no disrespect to my wife, maybe she doesn't realise that her work and back is only 10 Ks. Yeah. So there's a mental thing that we don't normally do those calculations. So
with the
for
EV,
her, it's like a 50% number.
With the EV9, does it show you percentage and kilometres?
Yes.
Yeah, so my Merc shows that as
whereas
well.
Tesla
Tesla, you just choose one or the other.
Yeah.
So, which I think is odd. I'm glad that there's both there.
Yeah, well,
I know
that
the Tesla, I got used to it.
He's odd, so that's good that they have some oddness.
But I think having the percentage and the kilometres there is I think a little bit more reassuring than just a percentage.
I happily take the Cupra to 30 and 20% regularly.
Oh yeah, me too.
No,
I get down to 20 is
all.
not a drama. Yeah,
because even though we've been really, really good, except for maybe 2 days in the last 3 months of going solar only at home, I'm just pretty comfortable. Like if everyone's in bed, I'll just go up the road and charge. Like if I know that I've got a couple of days of cloud, and I know that I've got a couple of days of driving ahead, I'll just pop up to Ampol or Evie or somewhere and charge. So, but the Kia is like it's Amanda's car, So I keep an eye on that. Like, I don't drive it much, but I keep an eye on it now and then in the app.
Yeah, right.
I looked earlier.
Do you see where she is and all that, mate?
No, I didn't. I don't know where she is. It's on Live 360. But the charger had told me that charging was complete, and so I looked and I go, she get it because she got a bunch of solar today, but she got it to like 68%.
Whoa.
And so I look at that and I go, she's fine. But I would normally, like, I think for us as a family, I think, okay, there's a few sunny days, a few cloudy days coming up. We've got a lot of kids sport to do and driving, and I don't want her to have that fear. So I will simply take the car for half an hour and just go and charge it one night. But yeah, I think 30% is my number where I start to go, okay, what am I doing now? But it's also fascinating that we've talked about this. You know, trips, like most people have regular trips. My trip into the city is really the only trip I do.
You know what percentage
and I know it's about an 8% turnaround. For me to get to North Sydney and back is about 8% of my battery.
Yeah. Here and back's about 16, 17%.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
70% of coming from 80%, though. Coming from that. But
doesn't matter where you are in the battery. It's still the same amount of percent.
I remember with the Tesla, when you get under 20, the battery color changes. You know, like on your phone, when your phone goes below 20, it goes red? Yeah. The Tesla goes orange under 20%.
That's fair, yeah.
And sort of basically just warns you, okay,
But I thought about, I got down, I remember Monday, whenever I was last there, I was 77 and I went down to 69. Yeah. Because it was the 8%. And then I thought to myself, I could do another 4 days of this without real fear. Yeah. But I have also looked lately at the charging infrastructure. We're in Sydney, both of us, the people that don't know. And you know what? There's not a lot of actual city charging infrastructure to rely on. Western Sydney has a bit more, like Seven Hills and that kind of stuff. I went to Macquarie last Friday. And I thought, I know the Teslas aren't open to other cars, but I know Tesla, there's like 6 to 8, the Macquarie Centre Teslas, there's a lot of them, right? It's good. But I know there's an EV one there. And I thought, I'll go and find it. Mate, it is hard to find. Thank goodness for the person on PlugShare that said it's on orange level, same level. Like, it gave me instruction. Yep. And I went there. I didn't need a charge, so I was fine. I was just curious. Yeah. Driving the Cupra. And there was 2 EV9s.
Wow.
And there was 2 chargers.
Beautiful.
And I'm thinking 2 in a huge shopping centre, in a huge part of Sydney, it's just not enough.
The reason I had my phone out is I opened my app to see my charge level. Yeah. And I'm now down to 64. And I started, when I left home, I was on, I think, 75.
Yeah, so he's 11 to get here. Yeah. That's a lot.
So you live a long way away, mate. That's the thing.
I need to come to your place again and do that number for me because I feel like I'm more efficient.
You think so?
I feel like the Cupra is more efficient on a percentage basis. Okay. But it does. It depends on the size of the battery. There's a bunch of different things.
That's a whole other subject.
But we would love to hear from you. 0477 657 657. What's your number? What's the number that makes you go, right, whatever we do now, it's got to be the charge?
What makes you start sweating?
And we're not talking about on a road trip. That's a different thing. Road trips are different. You panic at different times. But in your daily, weekly drive, is there a number that makes you go, oh, hang on? Because unless you're doing, like for people that do trickle charge overnight and stuff like that, you rarely think about it because you should always be pretty much close to 80 or 100, whatever you choose. Whereas for Amanda and I, we alternate. So I'll leave the Cupra at home tomorrow and I'll walk to the office if I have to. Okay. If it's a good solar day and Amanda doesn't need charge, like I'll grab an electric scooter and just scoot here. I'm not going to walk. Let's be honest. I'm going to scoot. But yeah, what's your number?
That battery's charged as well, mate.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually.
Yeah, charge that battery too.
It's a good point. I took one from the office and it wasn't charged. I'm like, oh man, take it back and grab another one. I've got so many of them. I hope they're legal soon. But we'd love to know your number because those are the kind of things that are fascinating to me. It's
that habit. Everyone's different. Like you might be a bit more daring than I am, and vice versa. So,
and I don't think it's unique to EVs either. I think that people have a petrol number as well.
Oh, exactly.
Is it just when your light comes on?
Yeah.
Or are you a 50% person in petrol?
I think when the light comes on, a lot of people panic. I know my mother panics when her light comes on.
It's like you've got 100 Ks left.
Said,
what are you doing?
You could drive for 4 days with that light on. She only drives a short distance every day. And I'm thinking, no, it's okay. I'll come and put the petrol because the smell of petrol makes her sick. So I take it, fill her up for her.
Oh, you're such a good boy.
Do my best.
Oh, look out. All right, let us know. 0477 657 657. We'd love to hear from you and hear about your stories, whether it's buying an EV, owning an EV, selling an EV. We'd love to hear from you. 0477 657 657. All right, drummer boy. I didn't put the camera on you because you look like a goose
is
being
that
a
why?
drummer. Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Great to have your company. Thank you for getting in touch. If you have 0477 657 657, we'd love to hear from you. Great to talk to people who are buyers of EVs, owners of EVs, in the market for EVs, or haters. We're okay with them
Haven't
too.
had a hater, have we?
No one's had the guts.
Yeah.
So there was a comment on.
I would love to
there was a comment
debate
on
someone like
the
that.
YouTube from a couple of weeks ago.
Was there now?
Which I think was an old comment because it was talking about EV fires. And they were saying something along the lines of you need to do the numbers as a percentage of total vehicles. Mate,
on.
I'm not doing the numbers as a percentage of anything. It's just it's a myth.
I don't know whether you've seen that meme. Have you seen there's a meme, a funny meme, it's sort of Christmassy meme, where the little boy's opening up a toy Tesla and it's on fire and he's crying.
That's
it's
not helpful to anyone.
Doesn't help. The myth is not helped in that instance.
No, it's not. Anyway, 0477 657 657. Love to hear from you. Dan is on the line.
Hey, how are you, Trev?
Yeah, real
How are you,
good, mate.
Stephen?
Mate,
going,
great
buddy?
to have you on the show. What's your world? Are you an EV owner, EV buyer? Where are you at?
I'm an EV owner and have had my EV since September of 2022.
Ooh, what do you got?
So I've got a Tesla Model 3.
Yep.
I've got the long range version. So Trev, I went for the colour that you love the most. I went for the white.
White. Yeah.
Well,
I
we
went
know
for it out of
why
choice,
Trevor
though, Trev.
commented on that, did we? Is that what you're alluding to? That Trevor sort of
I just
intimated
there's
that
too many of them.
Yeah, it was also the cheap way out. Is that what he was? Is that what you're referring to?
Well,
mate?
no, I didn't go for the
way
cheap
out.
way. I did it because, like, I've got the so I went for the sport wheels. I went for the white interior, but I wanted the white car because the last three cars before that were all black.
Yeah, right.
And as you guys know, so I just went from
There's
one
a lot of
extreme to the
washing
other.
required on the black car.
So you're white
Too
on
much,
white
too
with
much.
the Tesla, aren't you?
I am.
Wow.
I am. I'm
Mate,
white on white.
I had white
And
seats in my Tesla. They looks amazing. White seats. They look good.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You done much driving?
So I do a lot of driving. So I've done over 85,000 Ks in 2 years.
Wow.
So I've done from Bundaberg, Queensland down to Hobart. I've done that twice.
But hang on,
and
Bundaberg to Hobart?
Yes.
What
yes.
was that like?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Amazing. An absolutely great trip. I really enjoyed
Tesla,
it. So
That's
in a
big.
Tesla, it is easy because they're bloody everywhere. The
Yeah,
chargers,
of
there's
course
lots
there
of
are.
them.
Of course there are. And I'm assuming you're on
the
a ferry
first time-
too between over to Hobart.
Yes, mate.
too.
It's
Correct.
not,
You're
it's
in a
not a
ferry.
James
Yeah.
Bond.
It wasn't
Tesla.
a James Bond vehicle, was it?
Jesus.
no.
Now that would be a good
Didn't
model.
go
I
over
would,
the
I would
cable.
buy that. I would buy that upgrade. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. No. So I went the long range because I do a lot of driving. So
Yes, of course.
I now work in Tassie. After 2 years of that. But so I'm in Bundy at the moment. But I did the trip and I didn't use. I went doing the trip not wanting to use the Tesla network. I wanted to check out the EV network. So I actually did the whole trip without using the Tesla network.
Oh,
the second
respect.
time.
So you
Yeah,
want to
so
use
I
the
actually-
supercharge as well.
So you did it
Didn't wanna
purely
use it.
for experimental purposes. So how did that go? And what did you do the second
Yep.
time?
So the first time was amazing. So as you guys know, NRMA are right throughout New South Wales. Queensland's got a really good, strong charge box network. EV network was quite strong up here. Victoria was similar, and I tried to use all those sort of stations and mapped it all out using a better route planner. So it should give me a bit of a way. People go, got to map it out. Got to be wary where you go. That was part of the fun for me buying the EV. I wanted an EV for the experience. I've done a ton of driving in my years. I look after franchisees right across the state from Brisbane to Cairns at one stage, and to do this is a different sort of experience in an EV. So I wanted the experience. The charging network is great. Coming back, it cost me $3 from Geelong to Bundaberg. So
What? How?
yeah. So
the slow
I
charges.
mapped it out, Trev. Yeah, well, I did, and the 50 kilowatt stations didn't really bother me because I was doing big days. I was doing 12-hour days on the way back, and I just wanted to map it out so NRMA had a deal where they were giving free charging. So I stopped at all the spots where there were free NRMA charges.
Wow.
And then there was a couple of ChargeBox ones in Melbourne around sort of Airport West. And then into Queensland, there was BP were rolling theirs out at the time, and they had a couple of free ones at the time, just as an introductory. And then I got just north of Gympie, and I was like, I'm going to keep this so stingy and tight. It was got to $3.02. I was like, I'm done, I'm out, and raced home and put it on the and put it on when I got home. I put it onto the solar. So yeah,
Wow,
well done, well played.
So at home you got a wall charger, have you, connected to your solar panel?
Yeah, no. So I've actually, so I'm just using. I just got a 15 amp plug put in, and I just use the slow charge. The 15 amp makes a massive difference over the 10 amp, like a massive difference.
Okay.
And I love it. I'm super happy with that, and it's more than enough for me. But we've got a little guest house. We're going to put a proper EV charger that we've just built. We're going to put a proper EV charger on that one.
While
maybe
we're
a wall
talking
box or something like that.
About your Tesla, you've had it for now 2 years. What is something, you obviously love it, but what is something that you would improve on it? What's something you wanted to be better?
Yeah, honestly, look, when I first got mine, I loved it. Everyone talked about the build quality and, panel gaps and all that. And I was like, look, honestly, I was super happy with it. I've owned new cars over the years, but it just never really bothered me. Now, I think definitely over the 2 years, I think you had someone else a few weeks ago on the
rattle
channel.
Yes.
Yeah, the rattle's starting to come through, and it really annoys me. It really bothers me. Not so much that I've got to pull the stereo out and have a look behind to see the ticket flapping in the wind, Fred, but but it is the build quality. The other thing would be, you can do software updates where you can pay for a few things like get the speed boost. You pay $3,000. That doesn't go with you, Trev. Sorry, Stephen.
That stays with the car.
It stays with the car.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, and I don't like that. Yeah. I don't like that. I think it's the account that is buying it, not the car. It's software based. It should go with the owner of the account.
That's been a long argument with the cars like that. And even when I sold my car, my car had free supercharging, and the new owner managed to keep that. He worked it so that he kept that. It stuck with the car. Yeah, it didn't continue.
Yeah, and that was a brilliant deal. That free supercharging.
Yeah. So that's fascinating. Deal, I think it's great. Honestly, I love the honesty around your assessment of the vehicle, especially given you didn't notice the build quality in the early day, and it's really just the long term. And look, there's nothing to say that my Kia, Stephen's Mercedes, or my Cooper, but most unlikely Stephen's Mercedes will, have rattles and dings after 3 years. But where does that put you? So before we talk about where you're going next with cars, you said you're on the road. Seeing franchisees, I don't need to know what it is, but happy if you can tell us. But you probably have colleagues who do the same amount of driving. What's their view on you being an EV nerd?
Oh, I get a lot of crap for it. Yeah. I get a lot of crap for it. Yeah. So I now there's no franchisees anymore. So I work for Telstra. Trevor, I look after. Okay. Like I'm state manager for Telstra Retail in Tassie. So I look after that, and I was looked after all the franchisees or licensees, we call them, from Brisbane to Cairns at one stage until Telstra did the buyback. Yeah, so it took 2 years off, and then only just came back into Telstra last year. And so when I moved to Tassie, went back down to Tassie, just recapping on that trip, the first trip versus the second trip. The second trip, I had to use the Tesla chargers because a lot of the EV networks were actually out of action, which really annoyed me.
Yeah.
So
that's our bug. We hate that. Yeah, that's a problem. Yep.
It was really notable because the same trip I used that I did the previous year, exactly a year to the day, there was a ton of chargers that were out of action, weren't working, had signs up or messages up on plug share saying been out of action for the last 3 weeks. Wow. Just no urgency
unacceptable,
to
isn't
fix.
It? Honestly,
it is.
I know. Look, see, the problem is, I know they're a long way away.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, between Melbourne and Sydney, right? Let's say you're any one of the big networks. Let's not name any and get worried about individuals. But let's say one network is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 locations on the Hume Highway. Let's say. It's a day's drive to get to see all 7. So it's a half a day to get to the furthest one from either Sydney or Melbourne. So why do you not have a technician in Sydney and a technician in Melbourne who, even if they're working on one today, tomorrow it's fixed? Like it just shouldn't.
Exactly.
It should not be that
someone in Albury.
You open up plug share.
Yeah.
Well, you can't. I get it. You can't have people everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I get it. But
wouldn't they have local people like nearby?
No, but like the problem with subbies is what's their day job, because they're not on demand for you, right? So I give them some credit for that. There's an issue with the maintenance, but it should not be that you log on to plug share.
Yeah.
And any site is out for more than a day and a half.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just
3 weeks, I think you said before.
It's outrageous. So obviously the return trip was on a Tesla supercharger, and you paid for it.
Way more than $3.21.
But did the speed make you feel like, even though you're sitting for 30 minutes instead of 40 on a long day drive, it's still better to have the speed, surely?
It was definitely better, Trev. And look, the difference was the first time I was charging to 100% every time because it was the first time I travelled long distance and all that sort of thing. So I was that person. And then obviously the second time I was like, 80% here, I can get there with 60%, and I just played a little bit smarter the second time. And but
what time of the year was this, mate? Sorry, what time of the year was
December.
this? Okay, so this
December,
was a busy period.
Yep.
How long ago was the most recent trip, did you say?
So it was this time last year, actually.
Okay.
So
how was it at the charges? Was there like queues for charges? Or I did remember there were some people thinking, if I want to go away Christmas time, there's going to be people lining up for the charges. How was that in your experience?
So second time was a little bit more. I'm an early bird, so I get up early and hit the roads early and sort of plan my trips where I'm going to get my first charging. So I was sort of on the road before, I guess, the main traffic. Yeah. And so I didn't really have the long waits. It wasn't until sort of your midday, late afternoon I had to have one. But generally, someone was finishing up as I was getting to the next one. I didn't have the big long waits. I was pretty lucky like that. Actually, the trip back where it cost me $3 didn't wait for a single soul. I was first one there.
Yeah. I think a couple of years goes past, that quickly changes, unfortunately. So
massively, massively.
That's a big difference. You would see that now. Any EV owner over time, over a year or two, you start to realise how much it's growing because you start to see more cars. So your most recent message to us was talking about a second car. Are you talking about a second car as an addition or replacing the Model 3? As
an addition. So
what are you looking at?
I've always been I hear you guys talking about these plug-in hybrids, and I'm like, why would you do half of one and half of the other? Why not just go all in, right?
Okay.
But I tell you, the BYD Shark has grabbed my attention.
The Ute.
4,000 pre-orders they've had.
Wowee.
I see. My brother-in-law's actually got one on order as well. So the reason for the BYD Shark is I had a Ranger Wildtrak before I bought my Tesla. Loved it. Loved the functionality of what I could do with it, and I'm missing a few of those sort of features that you have in the utility that you don't have in the Tesla.
A Ute's a useful thing.
Absolutely.
And mate, it's staggering. It doesn't. I am surprised. I am surprised by the popularity. Now we need to remember that Ranger and Hilux would sell 4,000 in 3 weeks. So it's not like it's going to be the number one car, but for them to because they'll start delivering in January. And we had someone last week or the week before say they were looking at March. So the first 3 months, they're going to deliver easy 1,000 cars a month, right? So that's going to put them. That's going to put them real quickly into the top numbers, and it's going to get attention. And then you have the knock-on effect of like I see a BYD Seal on the road, and I think that's a nice car. Yeah. And every time you see these things, it's like advertising for them.
And the C-Line too. That's a hybrid. The C-Line. That's a nice looking SUV.
But mate, when those Utes are on the road and you start to see tradies put work gear in the back, and you start to see them in real life, I think it's going to have a massive impact. So, are you putting money down, or are you still contemplating?
So, very, 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 very serious. It's just looking at crunching the numbers at the moment. So the novated lease is very attractive. So I'm looking at a second car no matter what. And so the novated lease with my work, I've got that eligibility there. Okay. And I was actually just crunching the numbers last night. And it looks pretty promising from what I'm looking for. So it's I'm pretty keen to get that second vehicle. Makes it easier for my wife, So she's works from home, but when I've got the car, she can't go anywhere.
Honestly,
when you get it, we'll have to chat to you.
Exactly,
once you take
ownership. We were away with CES in January and whatnot, but I hope the deliveries do start in January, February, and I hope that we get calls from people about them because it's going to be a hot topic. It really is. You're onto a winner there, mate. Great to hear from you. Great to hear your story. You think you got a world record on the Geelong to Bundy run. I think we can...
the world's cheapest trip.
We can officially declare that is the cheapest run from Geelong to Bundy.
You know what? That's a really good call out to any other listeners of how cheap they've done a trip. Like, what was the final amount? $3 what?
$3.02.
Well,
it was over 2 point.
That's our record now.
Or 2,500.
Can anyone beat that?
Yeah.
Any
2,500.
We want to hear from you. Can you beat the?
We'll do a cost per kilometre, and I think you might have it, Dan. You might be the man,
mate.
Dan the man. Well done, buddy. Thanks for getting in touch.
Thanks.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Good on you,
See
buddy.
You guys.
Yeah, what a legend. And that's
$3.02.
Remember, 65,000 kilometres in 2 years as well. That's a lot of Ks.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
But it's an indicator though on the Tesla build quality. But you never had that.
No,
and you did it.
Mate,
you had
I had my car for 5 years.
How many Ks did you do?
I did 49,000 Ks in my car. Yeah, I hardly drove it, mate.
You drive around the block.
Yeah. But it was also during COVID, 2 years of COVID. I had it as well, so it wasn't.
Remember
going
those
far.
years where it was easy to get to your joint?
Yeah,
there was no traffic on the road.
Yeah, and easy to get here too, mate. But I've got to say, on the build quality of my car, no problem.
Yeah,
and mate, I was coming from a Mercedes, so if someone was to notice it, it would have been me, and I was quite happy with it.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a story about electric cars, get in touch. Send us a note. You can send us a text or a WhatsApp on 0477 657 657. Camera was on you, so I was making hand gestures because the camera was on you.
You were getting into my shot.
Yeah.
You were hogging the
Well,
shot.
you were doing nothing.
Trying to hog the shot. No,
Earlier on, you were drumming, and I didn't get you, so...
Yeah, no, what's up with that?
I thought you were going to...
Mate, some of my best work, you missed it.
I don't think it was.
Anyway.
0477 657 657 if you want to chat about EVs. Graham's on the line. G'day, Graham.
Hi there, fellas.
Hey,
Good afternoon.
What have you got for us? You an EV owner or you're in the market?
No, we've got two EVs.
Wow.
And,
I used to feel special. Now we've spoken to several people in the last few weeks who have two. So how long have you had them and what have you got?
So we've had them one since December last year, one March this year, and Porsche Taycan. And we love the EV side of things, but the interest I had in your show was talking about charging. I think there's a lot of greenwashing with the publicity about charging infrastructure.
Yeah.
Most of the ones that go in seem to be the 7 kilowatt hours, and if you do the math, that's the same as putting in 1 litre every 5
what
minutes.
What are we doing? I mean, it's honestly, I get so frustrated when you open up PlugShare, is the app I use a lot, just to look at what's around, and you go, well, I'm just change the filter. I'm at 50 plus. If we're like, seriously, what are we doing within? It's not. Like even a public library having a little, 7 kilowatt.
Yeah.
I get a hotel maybe, but more a bed and breakfast. A hotel having a 7 kilowatt
you're overnight
is insulting to the second person that comes because there's only one person going to use that thing. So I agree,
That's
mate.
right.
I mean,
exactly.
Is it greenwashing
you get the motoring
in some cases maybe?
We get the motoring organisations patting themselves on the back that they've installed 100 this year, but 95, 97 of them are 7 kilowatt hours. And then when you get a 120 kilowatt one, again, someone pulls up, uses the second cable, your charge rate halves. It's like someone pulling up on the other side of the Bowser using the other hose.
That is a really interesting observation, Graham, that I
yeah.
think a lot of people don't appreciate is when you look at the thing and it says up to 200 kilowatts, it's fine, and you might get 160 if your car's capable, but if someone else plugs in the second half of that Bowser, if we call it that way, you lose half the charge. I'll tell you another thing, Graham, and I won't give away sources here, but I was told that some of the petrol station installations are built without the additional capacity of electricity, and so therefore, essentially, when the shop's open and it's drawing power, it takes away from what the charger can do. So that's why you're only getting, let's say you get 32 at midday, but at midnight you get 55. Like it's because the shop's using it. So
the shop needs it too.
I don't know. It's a tough one, mate.
It's a bit like the shop's running on a generator, and when the generator's sucking fuel, you can't get it at the Bowser. That just makes no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you said Taycan, and what else?
So we got two of them.
You got two Taycans.
Wow. Yep. Husband and wife. Well, she was having so much fun with
doing very well.
Mate. Doing very well.
But don't get me wrong. We've got a twin turbo V6 diesel and a 7.2 litre petrol V8. So I'm not green. I just like the way they go.
Okay. And so, what's your situation at home on the charging front then?
Well, we live in an apartment building, high density living, so there's no off street.
So
and again, it's only a 5-year-old building, but they say the power is maxed out and we can't draw any more.
Really? So you've already asked the question, have you? You've asked the question, and yeah, right.
You should talk to the Strata about talking to the Rosemary at iCharge about that whole concept.
Well, we have it.
Geez, what's happening in this building?
Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting because they say they can't draw any more power, but when you say if they actually done the study to see how much the building draws when, they say no. So how they know it's maxed out, I'm not quite sure. So it's vastly complicated. So, they want people to have high density living, but the high density doesn't give you off-street charging. Yeah. And then when you go to the public charger, it's not as advertised. So I think electric cars can be the future, but it's not the car, it's not the range, it's not the battery, it's the public charging infrastructure. And I think if there's a lot more honesty about what it can and can't do, we'd move forward.
I agree.
We're hearing that from a lot, not just from you there.
That's one of the reasons we talk so openly about it. And look, let's be real.
Terrific.
Let's be real. And I don't know how much you've listened, Graham, but I think we could be far more positive. We could do less talking about how public charges are down, and we could not tell people that half and half on the single charger with two cables. But we want to have a real conversation with people, because the worst thing in the world is the feeling, and we've been recommending gadgets to people for decades, right? It's the worst thing in the world. I get this on the radio, and Stephen, you would too. Someone rings up and they go, it's Jenny on the line, and Jenny goes, on your recommendation I bought, and you're like, you prepare yourself, you're worried. And so I don't want someone to buy an EV on my recommendation and not know exactly what you're saying, Graham. And so do you get that? You're obviously a car guy, right? You love your cars. Yeah. You would probably have mates that are similar. Are you the outlier in terms of dipping your toe in the water with EVs, or are there others and you have those conversations?
Bit of an outlier, but what was interesting is that, their Porsche said they were going to go totally electric. The salespeople at every level in the dealership knew nothing about charging. We had to figure it all out for ourselves. Yeah. Wow. And in retrospect, they're saying we're going electric. You'd kind of expect to know a bit, but so it was very disappointing.
You know what, I've got to say, mate, I had the same feeling with Mercedes-Benz. When I went from having a Tesla, then I went back to Mercedes-Benz, and I had a couple of issues with my car, my EV, and I had that same feeling where they're not quite, this isn't what, like Tesla, that's all they did. They're coming into this late. Yep. I think we've even discussed on the show, I think I took my car in for a service.
And you got the oil change.
There was an oil change listed on my service. So I'm thinking, what the hell, what oil are they changing? So, I kind of get where you're coming from there. These sort of established companies. Yeah.
I had a text message, we may have mentioned on the show, or maybe I'm forgetting, but I had a text message from a friend that we both know, Angus, who went to a car dealer. I won't name them because I have raised this with the company, who went to a car dealership to talk about a specific model of electric car, and they were told, home insurance is difficult with electric cars, yada, 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 and they were talked out of buying an electric car. By a salesperson. How is that even happening? It's wild to me that someone walks in wanting something, and that's why the online play works for people. But, you go into with the greatest respect, a Porsche dealership, and you're spending very good money, and you've probably been a previous Porsche owner, I'm guessing. You expect to get a very different level of service. We've spoken to Chris Lau from Laser, who's a massive fan of his Taycan, had one of the first ones. And, I don't think he's told us about any issues with the dealership, but also I think he went into it with a lot of knowledge. So what I'm hearing from you, Graham, is that if you don't have the knowledge isn't given to you, and that's probably disappointing at a dealership level.
Very. I agree, particularly at that sort of level of dealership.
Mate, can I ask quickly, because you've said you've got 4 cars, 2 of them are EVs, 2 of them are petrol. Where do you keep them all if you don't have off-street parking?
Well, we rent some storage for the V8 and the diesel. The diesel, I just love it. It's the same sort of thing as the EV in terms of low down, quiet, smooth torque. And but the other's the 1969 C3 Corvette.
Wow, come on.
Salem has picked that name up. Oh, beautiful.
Wow, that's not bad. 1969
Corvette.
Wow.
Peak Corvette, chrome bumpers
Peak,
front and back. If you're into them, Peak Corvette.
Unbelievable.
And I'm assuming it's in great condition. You looked after it as well.
It's in storage too.
It's
yeah.
in storage. Wow.
You've got me drooling here, Graham.
Oh no, it gets driven. Don't you worry.
Oh,
it gets
you
driven.
drive it.
It's
Bloody
not
nice.
It's not in humidifier for investment. No, it gets driven.
But it's refreshing to hear that you are obviously a car guy, but has still embraced the EV. That's really good to hear that. There's a lot of people that are stuck in their ways and not ready to.
And
move
also, you
forward.
bought one in December.
Yeah.
You must have liked it enough to then buy the second one, I'm assuming, or you didn't order them at the same time?
Correct, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
As I said, after 3 months, I thought, why is my wife having all the fun? I want one too.
Wow.
So we got
How's
the
that,
second
eh?
one.
Hey, darling, I'm going to buy you a Porsche. That'd be nice to say to your wife.
And then he proceeds to watch her enjoy it and go, hey, I'm buying one too. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah.
Now just quickly, you also mentioned in your text to us that there's something else you've seen in public charging, which is a massive gripe, which is it's kind of like being iced, by a petrol car. It's the idea of a Tesla owner using a charged Fox or an EV when there's Tesla superchargers right next to them. Do you know why? Like, have you asked them?
Yes, because it's cheaper. Yes, I did ask, and it's
Superchargers are expensive. Yeah, right.
In South Australia, it's the Royal Automobile Association. I guess it's NRMA and so forth, and other states, and their charger is just a little bit cheaper by a cent or two. So
people shop for petrol, people shop for power.
Yeah. So in that
theirs.
situation, would you have been able to use the Tesla charger had there only been that charger, or was that particular Tesla charger just for Teslas?
No, you can if you get the Tesla app and then pay the extra for it.
Used for other
The reason
EVs.
we didn't.
Yeah, wow.
The reason we didn't was part of the Porsche deal is you actually, if you use a supercharger on ChargeFox, you actually get free electricity for 3 years. There you go, Porsche. I'm not completely bagging you. Little promo there. But that doesn't work on the Tesla. So if Tesla users use the RAA one, it costs them a couple of cents less. So if we use the Tesla one, it costs us a bundle more.
Just hang on, hold the phone, rewind a bit there, right? So when you bought your Porsche, you got a little deal with ChargeFox.
3 years free charging.
Because you know what? Mercedes-Benz,
I was amazed you didn't do that. With the original EQC, you did get free charging.
Nothing I got. Well, I said, mate, what about a charging deal? I said, no, nothing doing. It's like, Whereas you got, 3 years free charging with ChargeFox?
Well, it doesn't work on the slow chargers, but it works on the fast chargers. Hence, don't ask me why it's fast, not slow. But anyway,
well, I'll tell you why, Graham. And again, this is something.
Now.
Mate, I'd love it. This is something I have investigated in brief terms, but broadly, the ChargeFox network, the Woolworths chargers are ChargeFox, right? But I'm an NRMA member. I get a 10% discount on ChargeFox charging, not at the Woolworths. Because it's only on essentially ChargeFox operated sites.
Yeah, right.
Which is like the RACV or the SA or whatever it is, right?
Okay.
So the unfortunate thing about the ChargeFox network is it's a conglomeration of things, and so you've got to be careful about what you're getting and whether you're getting your full thing. Just finally, Graham, we mentioned your mates. What do you say to them when they bag the EV? What's your standard comeback or comment to them?
I just say, we'll come for a drive.
My comeback would be, it's a Porsche. Hello.
But if you've got time, we don't understand why we can pull up to the charger, be on 120, then the Mini pulls up next to us and they do 80 and we do 40. I don't understand that either. There's mysteries in these chargers that maybe an engineer can. So
you're saying it's 120 max kilowatts for the charger. And if you're on it,
getting 110.
Right, so there's that intricacy, and they get more than you.
Yeah.
I wonder, have you looked at the charge state? Like, have they got less charge than you?
That could be.
No, I've got photos where it can be the same level of charge in each one, and we actually wonder whether there's some trickery whereby the cheap Porsche deal means others get preference for faster charge. But I don't know if it's that smart.
Drop that out there.
Smart? I just don't know.
Well, we'll put that out there to ChargeFox. We know they listen.
Yeah.
Got the answers.
Wow.
Let us know.
Wow.
Good on you, Graham, mate. Lovely to hear from you. It's it is
Thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely beautiful car, mate. It would be, if I won Lotto, the first thing I would do is buy a Porsche Taycan.
Really? Okay. Not a Mercedes.
Well, when you're in Adelaide,
Absolutely not.
when you're in Adelaide, call me and we'll look at it together.
Okay. We might have to make a special trip, mate.
I've got to book some status flights just to get my Virgin frequent flyer status. So, Braham, be careful, mate, because listen,
genuine.
That Corvette's coming out, buddy.
Cool.
Corvette,
we'll do
and you got 2 Porsches, mate. There's 2 of us, so they're both.
He's got to
Porsches,
get his
mate.
wife involved if he wants a second one. Good on you, mate.
Thanks,
that would
Graham.
be wonderful. Thank you for having me on.
Lovely to talk to you, mate.
Thanks,
Good on you,
mate.
mate.
Well done.
Cheers. What a legend.
Thanks, fellas. Bye.
Excellent. Look, doing very well.
Doing great, but he's loving it though. Loving every minute of it. By the sounds of it,
I love what's it called? The irony. It's not the irony. It's the juxtaposition of his love for the car, love for the car that he bought, his love for the car and the love for the Taycan, but this frustration around the charging network and how it works.
Yeah.
But
he's made some good observations though on his charging experiences there, and surprisingly, he said in the apartment he's got to rely on public charging. So, wow, and he still loves the car. He still loves the car,
which is okay if you've got free charging. Also, by the way, he can win the
good deal.
He can win. This is an exemption we've decided in the ad break, in the break between callers. The cheapest drive over distance cannot include free supercharging or free ChargeFox charging. Okay,
correct. Yes, it's got to be legit.
You have to have tweaked the system. You can. I mean, obviously, Dan, the early caller, did use free charging but it's not something that's included with the car.
Yes.
So he found specials.
There is a caveat there. Yes, for sure.
Anyway. Oh, that's awesome. Well, it's great to hear from both Graham and Dan today. And we love your stories. We talked earlier about charging and the anxiety around charging, where you like to charge to and how low you like to get. So we'd love to hear from you. 0477 657 657. Don't ever hesitate to get in touch. We love to hear from you. It's great to talk to you. And it's one of the most enjoyable parts about the show. And it's the thing we get the most feedback from the industry about as well, is the fact that we're talking to real people. Stephen, let's do it again next week.
I'm here, mate. I'm here. I will clear the diary for you.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars.